Imagine your phone vibrates at 11 p.m. You already know it's a family crisis you'll have to fix. That feeling in your chest? That's what we're solving today.
Imagine this, roughly 44 million Americans act as unpaid family caregivers. Many of these people quietly see themselves as the family glue, the ones who hold everyone together during crises. But what if that glue is quietly wearing away? What if your proudest role is actually aging you and burning you out? Stop. Before you feel guilty for even thinking it, realize this. Feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or resentful doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. In fact, studies show caregivers report much higher levels of stress, anxiety, and depression than non-caregivers. Over 60% of family caregivers experience significant depression or anxiety, and more than 1/5 admit they're completely exhausted by nightfall. You are far from alone. 1, you call yourself the glue, answer, you're overloaded. So why do we do it? Often it starts as a sense of duty or love. If I don't do it, who will? You might be the calm mediator, the one who translates between stubborn parents and cantankerous siblings. Culturally, especially in some immigrant families, certain children are raised to be peacekeepers or translators for their parents. For example, among Nigerian Igbo families, the firstborn daughter, called the Ada, is traditionally respected as a peacemaker, a symbol of authority, peacebroker, oil that lubricates the family in times of crisis. Her opinions are sought before major decisions, even outranking elder brothers. At first, being the glue feels empowering. You're needed. You can fix things. You'll stay calm. You'll keep the peace. You're praised as mature, strong. But here's the catch. Glue is reactive and sacrifices itself for the structure. It absorbs every crack and strain. When family fights erupt, what do? Let me fix this. When people argue, you calm them. When someone's sad, you comfort them. You smooth over conflicts, hold grudges at bay, and keep everyone in orbit, even at the cost of your own peace. And that takes a toll. Glue has no control over the structure's design, only over whether it holds together. If the underlying foundation is cracked or overwhelmed, glue will eventually peel away. In real life, this shows up as burnout, exhaustion, irritability, health problems, feeling like you have to hold the fort all the time. Research on caregivers makes it clear. Caregiving is chronic stress. It creates relentless physical and psychological strain. One review notes that caregiving has all the features of a chronic stress experience, so much so that it's used as a model for studying chronic stress. It gets worse. Chronic stress doesn't just make you feel tired, it changes your body. UCLA researchers found that long-term stress actually shortens your cells' telomeres by suppressing the enzyme that keeps them long. In plain English, chronic stress literally ages your cells faster. Another review confirms this link. People under constant stress age rapidly. Their telomeres shorten faster. Chronic stress also ramps up inflammation and oxidative damage, contributing to premature aging and illness. What does this mean for you? If you're the one absorbing everyone's pain, anxiety, and conflict, you're flooding your body with cortisol day after day. Over time, this can lead to real health issues, high blood pressure, weakened immunity, anxiety, even faster aging. Studies of family caregivers have found they're more likely to suffer from heart disease, impaired immune function, and even higher mortality. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack all the time. Eventually your shoulders hurt, you slump, you can't run anymore. The glue person is carrying everybody's emotional backpacks, and eventually your shoulders buckle. You may recognize this. Frequent headaches, insomnia, forgetfulness, constant fatigue, maybe bouts of unexplained anger or depression. Or you might just feel a dull ache in life, a slow erosion of joy. If you're thinking, this is exactly how I feel, know that psychological research validates it. Caregivers report higher rates of depression and anxiety. Between 40–70% show clinically significant symptoms. More than half feel unable to handle all their responsibilities. Chronic stress can even impair memory and cognitive function, making it feel like your mind is slowing down under pressure. This is not imagined. Your body is paying for carrying everyone else. So what if your superpower of fixing everyone is actually burning you out? If hearing your family's problems all day leaves you drained, that might be why. You've been playing the mature mediator role because you could, but perhaps because nobody forced you. What if that role is a trap? And what if stepping out of it isn't abandonment, but survival? And here's a kicker. What if not only is it not your job to fix everyone all the time, but being the fixer actually holds the broken structure in place? By constantly patching without addressing root issues, the real cracks in your family, lack of communication, cultural clashes, unresolved hurts never get repaired. Glue lets the walls crumble under the surface until one day even the glue can't hold. Is that really going to collapse the family, or will it finally force people to rebuild properly? Pause. Let's talk biology for a minute. Chronic stress is not just an emotional state, it hijacks your brain and body. Under stress, your amygdala, the fear center, lights up and floods you with cortisol and adrenaline. That's handy if you're escaping a lion, but not so great when it's triggered by family drama day in, day out. Over time, brain scans show a stressed brain rewires. The hippocampus, memory center, can shrink, and the prefrontal cortex, decision-making center, becomes less active. In plain terms, you can get foggy, anxious, indecisive, exactly when you most need to stay sharp and calm. Also, chronic stress keeps your immune system on edge. Early inflammation, good for short fights, turns into constant low-level inflammation. That damages arteries, heart disease, brain cells, cognitive aging, even insulin signaling, diabetes risk. It's called inflammaging. Your body ages faster as it handles no downtime. A breakthrough study explains how cortisol from chronic stress actually shuts down telomerase, the youth enzyme in cells. No telomerase means every cell division chops off a bit of DNA, telomere, the clock on cells. So you literally age at the cellular level from stress. In other words, being the glue can make you feel older. You may look and act younger than your years, but stress can leave its mark with gray hair, wrinkles, heart symptoms, and mental fatigue much earlier than your peers. This science is why carers often hit a wall. It's biological. You can meditate all you want, but unresolved stress triggers these molecular changes. If the glue is causing this much damage, what if stepping back or changing how you hold the family together could actually give your body and mind a break? In the Igbo world, family and respect are everything. Extended families, often descendants of one great-grandfather, are the building blocks of society, with senior males traditionally at the center. Yet intriguingly, the firstborn daughter, Ada, holds unique power too. A peacemaker and advisor no male can override. All this means, from childhood, you likely learned that hierarchy and tradition define family roles. Now compare that to American culture, where independence and self-expression are prized. Here, kids are often told to speak up and find themselves. At home, though, your parents expect obedience and reverence, maybe even expecting you to defer to cultural norms, like marrying within the culture. This bicultural tension is huge. Research on immigrant families consistently finds a gap. Second-generation children acculturate to American norms faster, leading to lower family cohesion and more parent-child conflict. In one national study, kids of immigrants had less parental control and more serious arguments with parents than first-gen peers. It's a well-known clash. In your family's case, this plays out as your sister's American husband versus your parents' hope of a Nigerian son-in-law, arguments about how many traditional ceremonies to do, pain over who got invited or who shamed the family on Facebook. Pride and honor are on the line, and each sibling reaction feeds the drama. If you grew up stepping between these worlds, translating language or customs, mediating fights, you quite literally became the cultural bridge. But maintaining a bridge takes constant support on both sides. And because your parents brought very old world views, Igbo patriarchy, arranged match beliefs, valuing sons differently, every little cross-cultural difference became your job to smooth over. You probably learned to keep secrets, to justify your parents to your siblings, and explain your siblings to your parents. That's an enormous emotional load to carry. It's no wonder you feel exhausted. If being this cultural translator has cost so much, imagine the difference if they had to do some translating too. What if your parents and siblings had to step up instead of you always stepping in? So far, we've established you gave yourself the glue role. You probably weren't officially appointed. Nobody handed you a title. You took it on because you could navigate the chaos, and everyone came to rely on you. That's a kind of strength. But let's reframe. Maybe that strength is actually a skill in reading the system. You intuitively map family dynamics, cultural rules, individual fears, like an architect surveying a building's blueprint. This is crucial, glue versus architect. Glue is reactive, scrambling to patch cracks. An architect is proactive, designing and understanding structures from the outset. Glue energy says, I'll fix it. Architect energy says, how is this built and how can we change the design? What would it look like to act as an architect for your family? First, you'd step outside the chaos. Instead of just mediating fights and holding things together day after day, you'd analyze patterns. Why does the same argument keep happening? Why does one sister resist our concerns? What cultural expectations are pressuring each person? Glue logic, if I don't fix this now, everything falls apart. Architect logic, this system is creating these problems no matter who tries to fix it. Glue feels personally responsible for everyone's feelings. Architect sees the structure that's built those expectations. An architect would say, our design forces one person to bear the weight. That's an unstable design. On a practical level, being an architect means setting boundaries for your well-being. It means saying, I love you all, but I am not our private mediator 24/7. It means bringing issues up in a calm meeting, not crisis mode, or even suggesting professional help, therapy, cultural counseling, instead of always being the sole translator. Glue would say, I'll handle it, while architect says, we need a new blueprint for how we talk. Psychology supports this. Overfunctioning roles often correlate with codependency and parentification. When kids or siblings are made pseudo-parents, studies find they can suffer internalizing behaviors, externalizing problems, and compromised physical health as adults. In fact, a systematic review of parentified youth found those who took on too much care often face chronic health issues later. That's not a moral failing. It's a natural response to an unfair system. So the question becomes not, how can you fix them all, but how do we redesign the family to share responsibility? What if letting go of some glue actually forces everyone to fix themselves? You are not less caring if you stop fixating on everyone else's drama. In fact, you become more strategic. Picture an architect looking at a city skyline after an earthquake. They don't stand under collapsing buildings holding rubble. They identify which supports broke and how to rebuild stronger. Private first, you might start by getting help for yourself. Therapy, journaling, even taking a personal retreat to recharge. You're allowed to preserve your own structure first. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Set boundaries. Gently but firmly tell your family you need breaks. I'm happy to help, but I can't handle every emergency at midnight. It's okay if everyone experiences a bit more conflict or discomfort. Sometimes that's what it takes to force real change. Cultural bridge or barrier. Teach your family. It's not a betrayal to have an American wedding or different friends. Explain the gap. Second-gen kids adapt for their own futures, not to disrespect parents. Sometimes even outsiders, like counselors who understand Igbo culture, can mediate to ease these talks. Delegate the glue. Find other sources of support. Who else in your family has a skill? Encourage siblings to solve their own disputes. Use we instead of I. We need to talk. Involve the community, church group, extended family, to relieve the isolation you feel. Over time, your role can evolve from solo hero to supportive organizer. You'll still care, but you'll care smartly, not at your expense. And watch what happens. When you stop undercutting yourself, you might find the family dynamics shift. They might finally see the issues they've avoided, or at least you will be healthier, stronger, and more present for your own family, your spouse, and kids. What if your bravery isn't in fixing everyone, but in daring to build something new? 6, take action and resources. This shift won't happen overnight. It takes courage to break old patterns. But you owe it to yourself to live a life that isn't dictated by guilt or pride. You can still love your family deeply, but you must love yourself too. If this resonates, remember, you're perceptive, not crazy, strategic, not cold. You helped build the old design. Now you have the insight to build the new one. Join the movement. For more on setting healthy boundaries and redesigning family dynamics, join my free Off Algorithms email community. You'll get weekly tips on thriving under pressure and real-world examples of people transforming tough family systems. Also, binge watch my YouTube INFJ playlist. It's packed with stories and strategies like these. Let's build a better blueprint for your life together.